Folks, you're going to be in for a treat. My boss, CEO, Mr. Mike Goldstein, will be presenting. And I'm not going to take up all of the time, but he's great at what he does. And I appreciate him coming out to talk to you guys. Cyber is real, IT is real, and your network is real. So I'm going to let Michael talk to you about that. He's not going to scare you like he scared others.
Here you go. Only because I presented yesterday at the Margate breakfast and had more time, sorry. And introduce on staff also Tom Benjamin over here. Jerry rigged the screen here. Sometimes it's a little difficult. I'm just going to show a couple of company things so you guys understand who we are and why we're here. We're big investors into the chamber, and I love to see these vertical type groups that are there. So we're IT services, and yes, some of these slides don't look that great. We're on this little 20 board that's out there, but basically, we're a full service IT company. We're right here, and we're right over on commercial near 441. And I think almost every business that I heard here that if your laptop computer, your network is down, your clients suffer. And what I do is in my world, we basically end up having, we basically find that if I can't connect up to into the internet or service my clients, they go elsewhere. So it's a big important factor. We're 20 people, family business. My two sons work for me, and we really service the Tri-County area. Won a lot of great awards. Actually, we just got announced today that we're number 8 in the top 20 cloud companies from the South Florida business. Wow. So if you look at a lot of the awards that are in place there, a lot of the South Florida Business Journal awards, if you guys haven't applied or go out there, they do financial validation, so it's not just a paid award. So we work really hard in the community to make sure that we go out there and show you that this is why we do what we do. And then we're members of a lot of chambers. From Deerfield all the way down to Miami, trustees here in Pompano. For the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber, I'm on their executive committee, and I actually run their technology committee. So we kind of feel that we have to give back in the community. And in each chamber, different things that are out there. I'll tell you, in the Hollywood Chamber, if we got 5 people to the construction group for lunch, that would be a lot. So it's great to see that all of you guys are committed, and 5 years is a big number. The one thing I also bring up that's there, and it'll add to some of my stories that are in place there. We're a member of a group up here called Infotech. So I kind of feel that in my industry, I have to be as best as I can be. InfraGuard is a local actually a national organization that's made up of Homeland Security, FBI, Secret Service. So any individual or business owner could be members of that. Once a quarter, it's a scary kind of thing to go down to Secret Service headquarters and see some of the crazy presentations that are out there. And then every night, I get an FBI flash, they call it, that shows us what went on in that day in cybersecurity as well as terrorism. So I joke with my wife, I can't talk to you about it. And when I log on to that InfraGuard site to show you security, I'm only able to stay on for 1,800 seconds. Logs you off, passwords are kind of crazy. But we get to see what our government's trying to go out there, and we get to interact with local FBI agents to hear some of the scams that are out there and things that we try to portray to better protect you guys. IT services, we keep you things up and running. And all 20 employees work for me, so we don't outsource anything. They're all local people that are in place there. If we dial our number, we're always answering it. And in reality, we help build that economy. So, just some of our clients. So, obviously in some of the industries out there, we work with architects, we work with small businesses, we work with large businesses. We do a ton of work also in the not-for-profit space. Good. So if any of you are tied to any not-for-profits, one of the cool things that we do give back for is that we're affiliated with the Florida Association of Not-for-Profits, and we invested in them to purchase a grant database. So again, if anyone's working with a not-for-profit, you can see Glenn or David, we asked them to fill out a couple-of-page form, and 3 times a week we actually search this grant database for all types of grants for not-for-profits. Now, the only 2 that I can remember, and I don't know why I remember this, is that one of the not-for-profit shelters got a $250,000 dental office put in by a federal grant that they found in our database. And then one of the other not-for-profits, I just remember that they got a lot of toilet paper. So, and it was desperately needed. So in reality, we're not just grabbing your not-for-profits information to go out there and just telemarket them and that. we really do give back, and we have a lot of programs that we have involved with Microsoft. So, and I will tell you, on Sunday for Susan G. Komen, my mom's a breast cancer survivor, and I know that I got 3 walks that we go out there just because they asked us. So in reality, it's something that we have. So when you hear David say all those things, we really do care, and we really want to work with you in the community. So I'm going to talk. I don't have any other slides to talk about, and I'm going to talk a little about cybersecurity. Now, many times it's a scary thought that's there, but in reality, I've had a lot of instances in my life that go out there that really have saved businesses, saved things in place. So in reality, has anybody ever gotten one of those 1-800 calls from Apple, Microsoft, Comcast? I mean, you look at all of those things that are out there, and I'll just tell you my quick story of what happened to me. And again, the cobbler not having shoes. The Friday before the Friday of the hurricane weekend, like many of you, I probably used my credit card a zillion times. I probably went to 7 gas stations, Walmart, all those things. And then that Friday night, I got a call from American Express. I put everything on my American Express. And really what happened was that they said that they started off the call that they wanted to validate some charges because there was unusual activity. And I'm like, of course there was. I don't think I've been to 4 Walmarts in the same day, ever. And they proceeded to read off 3 charges, one at a time. And I remember the one, I use this one all the time, Wawa for $24.71. So I remember that charge. But they actually asked all the 3 charges. I went onto my app and I checked that those were my 3 charges. And I said yes. They then proceeded to text me a code, which I read back. And they said, "Thank you, Mr. Goldstein, we appreciate your support." Proceeded to do that another time over the weekend, and I had gotten 3 calls. On that Wednesday, I also book a lot of my travel through American Express. I went online to the site and I wanted to check my wife's travel reservations. And up in the upper right-hand corner, my retirement miles are up there. So for those of you that are American Express users, just like any frequent flyer points, there was a lot of them, but then I noticed that there was a little of them. And I was like, oh my God, what happened? Maybe they did like a stock exchange where, maybe smaller numbers were better. As I logged onto the American Express reward site, I noticed that on Labor Day, that hurricane day, on one of the phone call days, hundreds of iTunes cards were cashed in my name and sucked all my retirement miles out of my American Express account. I flipped out. I disappeared into a room. I went in and I called American Express. This was 9 o'clock at night. It only took them about 4 or 5 minutes to answer my phone call, go through some of the things that are out there. And the first calming words, and I tell this to our sales team, Mr. Goldstein, don't worry about it. American Express has your back. And within the next 20 minutes, all of your miles will be put back into your account. But let's go through some of these things. And in reality, on one of those calls that American Express called me, I remembered that they asked me the last 3 digits next to your signature. Now, American Express did ask the 4, they've done this, and I don't remember which call it was. But American Express started to tell me that the person that cashed in all the cards, so I think they said there was at least 1,000 cards. So, of course, good old services at American Express, they didn't catch it till the last card came in. And that was one of the phone calls. So basically, they had my information, they went out there, and this just shows you that I know that I didn't give them anything that they weren't entitled to get. They knew on each 3 phone calls, 3 different charges that came in. Again, to the penny. And one of those was a fraudulent call. So I spent part of that 2 hours talking to American Express, having them change all my security questions and everything like that. Now, after I told my wife what I was doing for the past 2 hours, and I wasn't on the phone with a friend for all that time, when she fell asleep, I went through and I reset 900 of my 1,200 plus passwords. So some of you guys look at it and say, wow, you must be crazy to have all those passwords. But if you think about it, I'm on all these chambers, I'm a trustee, I have logins to those accounts. I have my kids' schools, I have my banks, I have my vendors that are out there. So what I do is I actually use a password manager. And I'll give you a couple of things and I'll talk about some of the tips that will help you and help your business. So yes, there's 1,236 passwords. I checked before I came here. All of those were reset. Now, how many people, you don't have to say yes because I probably know the answer already, go out there and use that same password? And maybe if you go out there and you're asked to change it, you throw a 1 at the end of it, you throw something similar. In almost all the firms that we talk to, that's what we see. And what also happens and where it affects your business is that if you're going out there and your child, someone that you're related to, is in some school or aftercare program and you log in into their website, 9 times out of 10, when you use that login, that email address is your business email address. And 100% of the time, that password is the same password that you use to log into your business account. And passwords are probably the #1 way that these guys go out there and get your information. Your password is usually something personal to you, and depending on what age group you are, so I have a 32-year-old, I have a 29-year-old, and a 23-year-old. Everything that they do, I could probably figure out on Instagram, Facebook, or something along those lines. Bad guys, it's very easy for them to gather information about you and somewhat guess your password from your habits. So we always say that, hey, you should really make sure that that password is something unique to you. Now, how do guys get this kind of information? How could we hear all of this? At one of the InfraGuard meetings, we actually had a Secret Service guy come in and show us a video. His specialty is credit card skimming. So I like Wawa all over the place. I pick on all the big ones. And if you go into one of the big stations now, you'll notice that you don't have to start jerking the where you put your credit card in, because you look, those machines are very sealed. You look, it's a round key that locks it up there. They're all well lit. Well, they proceeded to show us a black and white video of how they raided a station in Miami. 28 pumps. And when they opened up the machines that were there, they had the station owner. Inside the pump was a skimming board, meaning that you don't have to have a little device that's out there. Someone is in distance of there. And they showed this live video, and they showed us this board. And the guy's going through this whole thing, and now, how did they get into the locked machine? Of course, wouldn't you know, the video surveillance was down that day, so they couldn't get anything. So the Secret Service guy proceeded to show you, and he just wanted to show you how crime could keep persisting. So he said, you know what I did is I went out and he saw the manufacturer of the board on the back. And he went onto a website and went to purchase 1,000 of these boards. Now again, if we look at the name, we might think it's in China, North Korea, or someplace out there. It was in some Far East company. So he listed the delivery address to Secret Service headquarters, whatever you call it. He actually put that in there, the address. On his credit card, for most Secret Service employees that have a government credit card, their title is part of their name. He put all that in and ordered all this information, and he figured that maybe someone that are making these illegal boards would notice that, hey, this is the Secret Service, so maybe I shouldn't ship this order. The next day he actually gets an email, and in his mind he said, wow, I'd be happy if they caught this, but really all he got was a 25% discount because he ordered so many boards. And free next day shipping, and 1,000 boards showed up. So this criminal stuff is just not gonna go away. Now, a month later, he went back to the same station, showed his ID, asked the station owner to open up one of those machines just to check. The boards were back. So in the cyber world, being an IT professional, we're kind of chasing our tail. Lots of times, the only way to notice this is to make sure that us, as individuals or business owners, really go out and tell someone about this. If you're not monitoring your credit card, when my 23-year-old graduated UCF last year, and when he was in college, anything over $5 on his credit card, I got a text telling me this. Now I raised it to 20, just because he lives at home. In reality, if we're not monitoring this, and each time I go to one of the InfraGuard meetings, whether it's DHS, Secret Service, or FBI, they're begging for us to report things. So we have to be diligent in monitoring things like our credit card, because here, it's a sealed, next time you go to Wawa, just take a look. And it wasn't a Wawa that it happened to. Sealed locked machine, touch it, look at it, think about how people get in there. Now, it gets even worse when we go out there and it's your business and you're utilizing other resources. So Wi-Fi, I usually bring it in, and I didn't bring my device in, I showed it yesterday. So in the trunk of my car, I have this device called the Pineapple device. It's a little machine that has 4 antennas on it. And basically, tip 1 is, obviously, look over your shoulder. I think of all the little things that my mom used to tell me when I used to walk to school, cross at the green, not in between, don't talk to strangers. Well, these cyber tips sound kind of dumb. Keep your credit card, make sure that's out there. Wi-Fi is one of the two biggest cyber thefts that we see all the time is tricking you on your Wi-Fi to put information in, and then phishing, sending emails. I'll talk about both of those things. But in the trunk of my car, I have a Pineapple device, and by just watching YouTube videos, I can configure it to be Carrabba's Wi-Fi. I can configure it to be anything I want. And I then become the man in the middle, meaning that you're passing through me to connect up there. That's a wireless access point up there. You know, in today's day and age, nobody can live without Wi-Fi. You know, if my internet is down on an NFL Sunday, I watch all my games alone because my kids abandoned me. And in reality, today's world, we can't live without it. So this Pineapple device gives me the ability to be the man in the middle. And what could that mean? We did this little test at an event. I watched a YouTube video for like 4 hours. I configured my device. And basically, we were at the BB&T Center. We were in a hockey event. I'm a huge Florida Panthers fan. And in reality, we knew that everybody would see at the bottom of my slides the Wi-Fi in the building. If you've ever been in one of those arenas, you know, no matter who the provider is, it's terrible. So what we did is we gathered information from people's cell phones. And as they connected up, we saw their device, and all we did is grab what Wi-Fi access points they have gone to. So if you didn't know, your smartphone is really a dumb phone, because any Wi-Fi that you connect up to anywhere is saved on the phone. That information is saved. So all we did, that was the only thing we took from everyone's phone. So after we finished our presentation, I went into the back as the next presenter came up, and we took all this, we put it into an Excel spreadsheet. And I sorted all the Wi-Fi access points. Now, we were a mostly male organization at this event, and I started noticing a lot of female names showed up as the Wi-Fi access points. So I Googled them, and there was more than a handful of gentlemen's clubs that showed up. So what we thought would be fun is to white out everyone's name and kind of show that we gathered this from everyone's telephone. And for some people, it went over well, so you could tell who actually partaked and who actually were somewhat offended of it. And this is just a sample of what the bad guys gather. And some people look at us and say, what the heck would they want with my cell phone? And in reality, think about your contacts. A lot of people still keep their bank, their passwords on there, as well as text messages. Think about what you guys text to family, friends, co-workers that are out there. You know, pictures of driver's licenses, credit cards, usernames, passwords. All of this stuff is worth something to someone on something called the dark web. And in reality, you have to be careful where you connect them. I will tell you that I will never, ever, ever, I said this yesterday, I've said it forever, connect up to Wi-Fi in an airport. Wi-Fi in the airport. Now, the Pineapple device is small. Now, every time I go to New York City, I go up there a lot with family, my family refuses to walk with me from Times Square, because I am like spotting guys left and right. They're very obvious people that are out there. And when you're on Wi-Fi, they can simulate it. So what I end up doing is I will only connect up, I'll go to Starbucks, and I use Starbucks Wi-Fi, because when I connect up to the Starbucks, this month, if you're a Starbucks user, you get to read a lot of newspapers online for free. You also can tell that you're at that store, but you might not know where the Wi-Fi is. And I could be sitting next to you, and I could gather that information from your phones, and then sell that information on the internet. And that's what a lot of low-level criminals do. It's not North Korea finding out that, you know, you work for Pompano Ford and I want to get the data from the Ford dealership. It's a guy that just has nothing better to do, that your data is worthwhile. So really you have to be careful as to where you connect up to Wi-Fi. I always tether. You know, I'm a AT&T guy. I'm on an unlimited plan. I use sick amounts of data every month. I want to make sure that no one can gather my information. So you have to be careful where you go out on public Wi-Fi. And the other things that I look at is that too many of us are just doing 50 things that are out there. You're clicking on emails. If you're doing business with TD Bank or any of the banks that are out there, why would I open up an email from Bank of America? So these guys that are out there are preying on, I use the term internally in some of my clients, there's no cure for stupidity. And in reality, we have to go back and we have to really read what we're doing. Think about what you're clicking on. And part of what we do for a lot of our customers is we offer anybody with a real.com, not a Gmail address, any business, online, no charge cyber awareness training. It's not technical. These guys are sales guys. They've taken it just to give people awareness that's there. Other things that we've seen is that, one of our security guys, he does this every couple months. He comes down from Tampa, and he just takes ugly-looking USB sticks, and he drops them, and he picks on Starbucks all the time, and leaves these USB sticks around just to show you. And if anyone's a Starbucks person, men's bathroom at 4 o'clock in Starbucks is the grossest thing in the world. But he leaves these USB sticks all over the place as an experiment. And it's amazing that people will find something on the floor, take it in something as disgusting as a bathroom. We joke about where we should place this. The most disgusting place is people take those USB sticks, and not only do they put it into their computer, they give it to people. So these USB sticks, we track them, and sometimes if someone opens a file, now of course, we put things like financial records. It says, last time he said naked pictures, and people go right to those things, and they click on it, it's someone else's data. Now we track them. This is just to show you what we're dealing with. So, hey, let's make sure that you're protecting yourselves. Password and backup. Make sure that you're picking a password, and please tell someone to change their password. This month is Cyber Awareness Month. I can't tell you how many times that we do open kiosks where we'll come to any of your events, groups like Microsoft, and set up an internet cafe, and regular everyday people go out there and log in these and save their passwords. So if you're using any browser, I don't care if you're a PC or a Mac, if you're using Chrome or any of those, when the browser pops up and says, do you want to save your password? Please say no. Because me, as semi-technical I am, just getting on your computer, I can find those passwords. So we use a password manager. I use something called LastPass. I say that that's for me, for all my 1,200 passwords. The only way that I can get in is my finger or my face. My laptop over here has facial recognition. It comes in all the Microsoft pieces. Most of them are fingerprint, and all those passwords synchronized between all of my devices. So those 1,200 passwords, I'll be honest to tell you, I don't even know what those passwords are. They're 18 characters. I don't want them to know. And I don't even remember what it is. I have to put my finger on something or I have to smile for something. So make sure that you're picking a password. Please tell someone out there. Also remember, Apple doesn't know who you are. I used this example yesterday that my wife gets crazy when these people call. And we had Apple call when I was home 2 days ago. And it said Apple Care in the caller ID. But they actually even got smarter that I'm on Hotwire, so my caller ID pops up on my TV. It said Apple C-A-R, car, and then they put 3 dots at the end of the caller ID. And most of us will say, oh, my phone can't display that, or it's some, this is the smartness that the bad guys are out there to gather today. So, I don't care if you're a PC or a Mac user, you must do updates. People know what it is now because I think this month there were at least 2 updates on the iDevices because Apple screwed up the first time and came out there. These updates aren't to give you the latest, greatest of everything. It's to fix things that went wrong. And when they have to publicly broadcast, hey, this is what this patch or this iOS update does, the bad guys try to connect up to you and see if you've had those things done. So we need to patch. Whether you're a Mac or a PC user, please make sure that you're using some form of antivirus. If you don't know what I'm talking about, see one of these guys. Don't take a copy of a copy or one of those free things that are out there. If you're a business, don't use the retail version that you walk into Office Depot. On that end of it, you need to make sure that your business is protected. But at home, you could walk into a Best Buy and Office Depot. They're all different colors and flavors. We don't care what it is. But that's like locking your door at night. The other day I had gone to, I just changed the locks in my house, and I'm always amazed when I bring that lock with the receipt back into Lowe's or Home Depot and you get the older guide that shows you how you can just pick the lock and key it to your keys. Sometimes the locks are kind of a joke, and that's why your password shouldn't be that joke. And your last line of defense is antivirus that's there. And then lastly, please make sure that you're backing things up. Anyone see me present? I didn't put it up here today. I'm a new grandfather. I have a 5-month-old. So in 5 months, I've actually generated more pictures than I did over the past year and a half. Now, I know that I have over 90,000 digital pictures, and I've been shooting pictures since '96. And I bring this up because I actually backed that up to Google Photos, I got that unlimited plan on my Amazon Prime, I back up something else to one of our other services, I treat those pictures like it's my life. And I have them backed up all over the place. And I know that I've tested that the backup, because I've gotten new devices. Make sure that you're backing up your data locally. Because in today's world, we say that you're one click away from disaster. You could be, as a small business, one click away from going out of business. Because today's guys don't just download a virus that goes out there. They download something to rename and encrypt all of your files. Now, you might click on something and go out there and say, Mike doesn't know what he's talking about. I won't open this again. But what happens is this is what we call ransomware. And if you watch network news, you'll always see a lot of these big cities, but people like you and me can get hit with these things. And what that means to you is that you go to open a file, or whether you're a Mac or a PC, and you look at your list of pictures that are there, they all get renamed. You can't open them. And when you click on them, you get this ugly little screen that says, hey, I'm the hacker. I've encrypted this data from you. And if you want your data back, you must pay me a ransom in something called Bitcoin. Does it make a difference if you're a small business owner or you just have your life on one PC? The only way to get back that data is to go out there and restore it from the backup. So it's really important that whatever you're storing for your personal life or your business, that you do make sure that you have the data that's backed up and that you test it. And it's a really simple test. If I have my files in my documents, Pompano Chamber, and is today's presentation, I'll move that to someplace else, and then I'll go to the backup and try to restore it. You have to test it, because no one wants to test anything when you're in that emergency sense. So, recap. Please make sure that you update all of your devices. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, we're here to help you. Make sure that you consult a professional. Just like all of you in your businesses, if I said that I built all my cabinets myself, and I went back there and designed it with pencil and paper, you'd say I can do it better. Make sure that you're using a business professional, even if it's you carry something into Best Buy and let them look at it. If you get hit, you gotta cure it fast. Because like my house, my kids don't live with me, but they still have PCs in there. Everything in my house runs on the internet. If I get infected at home, I might not be able to watch the Dolphin game on Sunday, but maybe it'd be better for me. So I'm just saying that everything's connected these days. So make sure that you're protecting yourself. Find a password that's unique to you. Don't share it. I will tell you that my mom and my in-laws both live in Kings Point and Tamarack. And my mom, every time I go over there, it's like her friends see me come over and they bring their devices over. The most preyed upon there. So once every quarter, my mom's like the building monitor. I go around and I actually help her print out these posters to help people, to let them know that not to answer those calls. So change your password, make sure that it's something unique. Password managers are good things. And then please make sure that you have a backup. Watch your wireless. And I'm available for any questions that you guys have. So does anyone have something, I know they just serve food, that you want to ask out loud?
Yeah, so, the password manager, first of all, they're not compatible with all sites, especially some of the physical sites and stuff, but, what's the security pending at?
So the question is how good the password managers are. So I will tell you that LastPass was hacked, but I figure that after the restaurant got the bad rating and they cleaned everything up, I might not be the first client to come back there, but I might give them another try because I know they're really clean. I mean, most of the major banks have been hacked, but the only thing that I'll tell you is the reason why I chose LastPass is that the data itself is encrypted, and I maintain the key to that, meaning that when it's on my iPhone, if you knew what went how, you couldn't get into it. Most of the major sites let you at least save your password there. So I'll tell you that, the banking institutions remember my password that's out there, and a lot of them also use something called two-factor authentication. So I'm a Bank of America customer. If I do something big on the account, it does their safe key, it recognizes my PC. I don't let it auto-log into the bank that's in place there. But LastPass is a good one that I've used. I've also used RoboForm, and it does encrypt it locally, versus the reason why I say don't use it in the browser, because free's free for a reason. They don't have to invest anything in encrypting. So I trust it with my business that's out there, and we have a lot of clients that have this LastPass. So what I did, I took it one step further, is my kids always ask me for the HBO to go password, the Showtime password, things like that. I actually have a LastPass family plan where my kids and my daughter-in-law, my wife actually have their own password tree, so I can make sure that it backs up.
Segregated.
So they can segregate it, and then for dumb things that we share, like the Netflix password, all of those kind of things are in this little, it sounds kind of corny, but they ask all the time. And they asked like 5 minutes before like Game of Thrones was on. My son's in college. He's like, I'm streaming all these people in my room, I can't remember the password. And it gets him crazy when I have to call him and not text him. So,
Can we add something for everyone? And, you know, my friend is a data manager. We've spoken together for a long time. It's, you know, on social media, they have a lot of these quizzes, and those things are just constantly phishing and trying to build a profile. And I think it'll work for everybody. Remind them not to, how old are you, what was your favorite car, all those questions are security questions.
you know, those are the things that they're actually trying to go look at. I'm not in all of our businesses, so 60% of our business is law firms. Outside of that, we're in construction, we're property management, not-for-profit. A lot of our clients have locked out things like Facebook and social media inside the office. Because basically, you know, I'm not a Facebook fan that's out there, because lots of times the things that happen is they'll pin a picture of, maybe a great male suit or some glasses or something that we like. You'll be tagged in a picture. When you click on it, that's really the fake account where they're downloading something. So I think, you know, in the business world, you know, we do have some cyber awareness training, and then we do lock down a lot of those social media sites. Not that I don't mind that people go on and look at things in their time, but I don't want them to do it on my network, because data plans are so cheap these days. So I think you have to be aware and look over your shoulder. That's why I kind of joke that it really is basic.
I recently bought a Google Cybersecurity
So I haven't, so Google Titan security key. So I actually have in my bag, I use a company called Ubico. So the thought pattern on those type of things is that, and I actually just set it up on a new laptop. So basically what happens is that, so just to digress a second, on every one of your social media type accounts, or anyone that has it, there's something called multi-factor authentication, or 2FA, meaning that, like right now on my Amazon account, anytime, because I share it with my kids, God help me. But what happens is that when it comes on, it actually texts me, or it'll go out there, and I have a software token, meaning that have something, know something. You know your password, but now it has to text back to this telephone. The second thing that go out there is these keys. So I have a YubiKey, I'll dig it out of my bag, but it's just the key that on my secure laptop. I say I have 5 laptops because I have testing. I can't log into that unless I stick this key that's there. So a physical key lock. It won't go in, the hard drive's encrypted. So it's great that you go out there, there's a lot of devices that are out there. And lots of times, you know, we're big Microsoft resellers, but Google does a real good thing a lot of times. If I log in from a weird browser or a weird location, it actually says, hey, there's a strange login that goes out. So what they're doing is they're taking it one step further, that you have to have that key to go out there. Security isn't meant to be easy. Sometimes it's a royal pain in the butt. And to just end my American Express story, after I spent 2 hours on the phone with them, I said to them, I go, you know, I'm American Express Platinum holder. It's kind of unusual that you're the only financial institution that I deal with that doesn't have any form of 2-factor authentication to do things. The guy nicely kind of explained it to me in language that I was like, this guy must be in marketing. And in reality, he basically was saying to me that American Express appreciates your business, but our higher level clientele find it a little difficult to go out there and do things. Now I will tell you, on the travel side, they started asking me the last 4 digits of my social and certain things that I was doing. So have something, know something, so the password's a little less important. It's real important to make sure that you protect yourself, because it only takes someone to get access to your social media account and put something out that offends the world, and it affects all of our lives. And I'm sorry doesn't really carry it, depending on what industry you're in.
Do you find that it's too easy to reset a password?
Is it too easy to reset a password? So I usually say that you're better off resetting the password than having the consequences of just putting a 1 or a 2 at the end of it, or using something that's out there. Now, I always say that almost 4 days a week, probably 3 days, I'll say it now. I leave my house early. I stop at a Starbucks on the corner of 441 and Hillsborough Boulevard. I don't even order anymore. I walk in, I wait for them to clear out. They bring me my coffee, only because I need an hour before I get to the office to get my thoughts together. Where I bring this up is that if you people watch in a lot of public places that are out there, people just leave their laptops, their phones, love to wear their badges when they work for a big company. People watching are what a lot of these guys go out there and do. So if you had something unique and I happen to see, wow, Premier Hotel, that sounds like a really good company, I'm going to stalk him. Cyberly, very easy to find him on Facebook, all those type of things. I might be able to guess what the password is. So keeping them at their odds of picking something unique that's not your dog's name, the address you lived in. I filled out a UPS account, and some companies do this, where I wanted to be notified anytime the UPS delivery was coming. When you fill out one of these accounts, you don't pick the security questions. They actually ask you 10 questions. So the first 3 questions, it was like, in this year, which one of these streets did you live on? And I lived on all 3 of the streets. I know the 4th one wasn't, so I just didn't know the year. Now think about this. These large companies get that data publicly on the internet. The first 3 questions, I remember one of them I had to call my mom because I actually didn't remember what street and I couldn't get past it. So think about the stuff that's publicly available out there. And next time you're in one of those places, people watch. We did an event 2 nights ago in WeWork. If anyone's never been to a public workspace that was out there in Miami, I was setting up my laptop and sat in this area, and tables like this, people coming and going, all younger people that were out there. The lady sitting next to me and the guy sitting in front of me just walked away for like a half hour and left their Macs logged in and their phones right there. These are the people that are employees. I know they're my kids. I know that they're people around us, and if they have your information, I could have just stuck a USB stick in there. I could have gathered all that information. And when I pick on Starbucks, the stuff that I see on other people's screens, I never talk to anyone. I'm usually dressed like this. I usually have giant headphones on. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just need an hour to just get myself together. And what you see out there is just unbelievable. People sometimes will tap me on the shoulder. Hey, could you watch this? I'm like, oh my God. Now, I tell that story all the time, and it only happened to me once this year with my wife, because my wife always kept thinking that, you just tell people this. When she was like, she decided to go to the bathroom when this lady went to the bathroom, and on the way back, did you know that you just left your laptop there? My husband could have done anything. And I'm like, oh, thanks for sticking up for me. So these are why I think that these kind of things are important to protect yourself personally, and then think about how you can go out and protect your business. And we do this all the time.
I have a question. Are you at liberty to say what Florida cities were hit by the ransomware and how to pay?
So the Florida cities are publicly there. So the biggest one that we heard of, that we saw that was out there was Riviera Beach. And David will happily tell you that at Riviera Beach, we did the Governor's Hurricane Conference in Palm Beach in May. And we met those guys, and they told us how bad their backup was. And I felt bad for them. There was, I can't remember the name of the city, but Lakeland.
Lake City.
Lake City up in Jacksonville that was out there. We know that Key Biscayne had gotten hit, but they hadn't reported yet. But more importantly, what two Florida counties got compromised in the 2016 election hasn't come out yet. They haven't released that. So where you look at this, these are our cities. And if you haven't done business with one of the smaller cities, like City of Dania Beach is one of our clients, Lauderdale Lake, you look at these, not only are they the city planners, but in the case of City of Dania Beach, that's police and fire. In North Lauderdale, I turned down projects because their server room's next to actually the undercover police area, and I'd have to actually go through some certification. So when you start looking at these smaller cities, and it's no different for them. They need to maintain their passwords. They have to go out there. They have to go out there and have better backups. But besides those cities, we know that Atlanta got hit, and when Atlanta got hit 2 years ago, they only got hit with $50,000 of ransomware that they could have. They decided that we're Atlanta, we don't have a good backup, we'll go back and fix everything. Cost them $2.5 million. And not only did it affect the city itself, court systems that were down. 2 weeks ago, Pitney Bowes, large company that's out there, got hit. We've all seen some of these things. So it's not just for the big guys that are out there, but it's scary when we go into the city. And all it would take was having good backups. And yes, it's outages, you never want to pay I'm trying to think of the nice word I would say. I always say I'd love to get these bad guys in there and do a Roman reader and let them fight it out. Because it's terrible for all of us because they prey on all the little things that we should be doing right. And that's why I say there's no cure for stupidity. You know, the police officer doesn't want to hear, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that stoplight. You know, I ran the red light. I mean, in reality, we have to tell people, we have to tell our employees, we have to make sure we're reading what we're clicking and don't connect up to free Wi-Fi anywhere. Any other questions?
Do you have any advice for people that, if something happens to you, people need to get into your account and your wife needs to get in?
I am going to a memorial service for my uncle and on the way right after this, and I had an employee's dad pass away. We were at a funeral yesterday, so it's one of those, I'll think about this. So I do have to go through my uncle's iPad later, and so I'll tell you what I do. My wife used to keep her passwords in a little black book until I found the black book, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So she doesn't know technology. If you saw earlier in the year, there was a plane that crashed in Lake Okeechobee, and there were attorneys that were on there. All those attorneys were clients of ours. The main partner died in that plane crash, and we luckily had an iPad that he didn't like to use the finger lock on because all their bank payments were going back to a Google account. Now, you bring up an important point that we all should document what your electronic accounts are. I don't remember the last time I wrote a check. I do everything electronically. My wife loves to complain that, you know, if I'm dead and gone, she wouldn't know what to do, and that's what I told her she has kids for. Now remember, if you called up Google, Microsoft, any of those guys and gave them this story, it could take weeks to get a password if they would give it to you. So what I did, and I always tell her this, is I actually put a lot of my information on an encrypted USB stick, and my wife doesn't even know my password, so I always said this. I say this all the time. If you're a Seinfeld fan, when George wouldn't give his PIN code over to get the guy out of the bank, I joke with my wife, I don't want you to have my password. But I said, you know, when the time comes, you'll actually know what the password is. It's, you know, on that end. So we really do want to document and go out there. And this started, you know, most of my house was torn up by Wilma, and I remember that I was happy that I actually kept some of the paper that's out there, and I started keeping a USB stick with all my important information on it, and as the cyber world came, I encrypted it. It's very simple. If you're a Windows 10 person, you could assign a long password, but you know, remember, the bad guys are also identifying you, know that you're a Gmail user, and then they're trying to get your username and password. Google won't give that out. So you really should electronically document some of these things out there. I'm 100% paperless. I keep a triple encrypted Excel spreadsheet with all the information that I need on a USB stick, because you know, if one of us, if someone passes, you know, in the case we had to spend, this was the worst IT job I ever had. We probably spent 14, 16 hours with the family getting into their devices and trying to help them get those passwords. You know, and it's, you know, I joke about the eye or the finger. I mean, you know, kind of morbid to figure out what you'd have to go through. So, should document in a safe place that's out there, and of course update it. It's real important because you cannot call. They could care less that you gave them a death certificate. It'll take forever to get into it. So however you document those things, and same thing with the business things. I'm the sole business owner that's out there. My attorney, my accountant has some of the things that are in place there. We always see here's the envelope, but it's a real life thing because we're all in this electronic world these days. That are out there. So good question, morbid kind of thought, and unfortunately that's my today and part of tomorrow to go through my uncle's iPad, because my uncle was 77. You know, my aunt only knows how to turn on her phone. So, any other questions? Sorry to be so. I will say lastly that I tether my phone and I use internet wherever I am. If I'm in a hotel, sometimes I'm forced to use internet. So I pick and choose. Like in a hotel, I'm always a Marriott person. If I check into a hotel, I love to, even my kids do it now. You know, when they ask you for the free Wi-Fi and it says, what's your room number and your last name? I usually do one of those two wrong, just to hope that, you know, Hilton or Marriott doesn't connect me. So if I'm in room 2468 and I type in 245, you know, the system should come back and say, hey, I don't have a registration of you. So I do kind of live on the internet. I'm mobile all the time. So I try to tether. Yes, I'm scared of somebody hacking into us, but my hard drive's encrypted. I use a VPN if I have to use public Wi-Fi, a way of encrypting things that are out there. So as much as we talk about this stuff, I have to do business on the internet, and I have to do business from, probably a Starbucks on the way up to my aunt's house at this point. So in general, as bad as it sounds, you just have to look over your shoulder. And for those of us that are the age that might have had kids, I remember the first time my kids took the car out that night after they got their license. I was paranoid. I don't want to portray. And today, they're alive, still driving at that end of it. You have to just look at what you do and just go back to basics. Thank you. Oh.
What VPN do you use? I use private internet.
So there's a lot of VPN clients. I use Nord, and then we use something private connected to our office. There's a lot of ones, and I'm a true believer that if I used any of your services, I would want to pay for it. I say that you have to pay for things because then you're entitled to support. If you download one of these freebie things, they're in business to catch you at your time of need to go out there. So VPN is just a way that if I was on my pineapple sitting in Starbucks and you were on a VPN but you weren't, I'm looking at the data and yours is in another language, yours is in English. It's just a way to make it harder. Like putting on that better double bolt on your door, on your locker. So, good questions. The world is definitely a crazy place that's out there, but just look over your shoulder and make sure. And of course, seek out a professional if you have problems.
What was the last thing you told everybody about the cell phones at the
Oh,
breakfast?
yeah. Christine loves that. So I started with this. So, the funny part is that a lot of people don't like Apple. Thanks for the reminder on that. A lot of people go out there and they don't like Apple because when you're there, you can only buy things in the Apple store. So in an Android world, what happens is, I think last time I did this presentation, I looked, there were 1,800 copies on the Android phone of Angry Birds. Some of my kids will look, well, there are only really 50 that are real. The other are viruses. So one of the things that I keep on my phone is something that's called Lookout. Lookout, like it sounds. It's a free application. I told you not to use anything free, but this thing is great because what it does is it goes out there and it makes sure that if you're an Android user or you're downloading something, that it is a real piece of software, not a virus thing. I think I saw something on the Today Show, or maybe it was CNN, something like that, of an application called TikTok. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it's what all of our people are using to shoot these quickie little videos tied to a Chinese company. And either yesterday, the U.S. government felt that this could be a security violation detrimental to national security because it was a Chinese company. So the Lookout app is free on all platforms, and it just scans your phone and tells you if all the applications you have are real versus fake. I think we did a Pompano luncheon last year over at the Butterfly World, and one of the people that I have to tell you this because it was the funniest thing. I was setting up at Butterfly World, and a banker comes up to me, and he tells me about all these apps. And I said, listen, if I were you, I would download Lookout. Mm-hmm. And what he tells me before I go on, he goes, oh my God, I can't stay for the presentation. I have so many apps that are on my phone that are security violations. If this gets back to the bank, this could be a big problem for me. And he showed me his phone, all these little picture apps and everything. And just by this Lookout, he got himself so crazy that I said, if you stay for a little while, I won't identify you, but I have to use this as a story. So download Lookout, let it scan your phone just to make sure that you have the apps are your apps. It doesn't intrude on you on there. It just tells you, hey, all of these are good apps. It's just a freebie kind of thing, and that was the lunch. Nope, you could use it on any platform. You use it on an Apple platform, because yes, even though Apple scrutinizes, if people pay enough, they can't tell if that's a good or a bad app. Lookout.
Like the aging app, that was also tied in.
The aging app that was out there where you could put a picture on this, because TikTok, I've never seen the government come out and say that these apps could be detrimental to national security. If you Google it, I just saw the newspaper, I was actually shocked to see that. And it's a Chinese-owned company, because Chinese-owned piece, because now what they do is they do some of these polls, and people put data in there, and they're swearing that they're not anything tied to the Chinese government. They store their data in Singapore, which is not much better on that. But this just shows you that in the everyday life of something that just passes cutesy little videos around that could affect and gather your data.
Thanks. Russian espionage all over again.
All over again.
Great job.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's thank you so much. I mean, traditionally, every month we have a guest speaker who is construction. But I said, and I agreed with David, that this was crucial to everybody here because we need to know what you just shared with us. I'm scared. I really.
Protect your business. You gotta
I
protect
am.
your business and you gotta protect yourself personally. Because
And-
that's the part that's the worst.
And David, you put brochures on everybody's, okay.
Yep.
And I have a special announcement, a special guest, my boss. Now, David introduced his boss. I'll introduce my boss, Ms. Jeannie McIntyre, President and CEO of the Pompano Beach, Margate, and Lighthouse Point Chamber of Commerce. Come on up.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Michael. Great job, as always. He is a little scary. I have to tell you that. I always warn folks, he might scare us just a little. But he's such a nice guy that we'll kind of get past it. But it is vital information for all of us, so I'm glad we could share it. I want to congratulate all of you. Jody, good job. 5 years here with the construction lunch. So that's exciting, and I hope you all keep coming back. We really enjoy this group, and we'll keep adding value. So if there's something you want us to touch on or a topic you're interested in, please let Mary Ann know. We'll be happy to try and add it to our plan for the year. All right?
As a matter of fact, Nancy was kind enough to mention how many deals transpired in this room, and when she mentioned it, then everybody starts saying how many deals. So, I mean, wasn't it, Michael? Wasn't it impressive? The amount of deals that go down in this room at this lunch. And it's fun. It's Friday afternoon, you know. You don't want to go back to work, have some cake. And if you really don't want to go back to work, they let us have the bar. I mean, can't go wrong with that. And thank you, David Reese, for every month coming and setting up our equipment, speaker equipment. We love David. Does anybody have anything, you know, besides coming to our golf tournament tomorrow, even if you just want to come for lunch? The lunch is $35. It's a good networking opportunity, and they're serving chicken franchise, I believe. Yeah, they have a nice lunch. And if you really want to golf, it's still, you have until 5 o'clock, yeah, to register. And we have in the house since 1974 members of Pompano Ford. It used to be Pompano Ford Lincoln. Now it's just Pompano Ford. But that's good. Oh, Lincoln Mercury. That's right. Mercury was on the end. Mercury is on the way of the dodo bird. But yeah. So we're happy. We have a lot of new people here today. It's great. And thank you again, Michael and David and Glenn.
Thank you.